Yeah. It's tick. No, it's got to come back to tick now.
Right, we'll start it off anyway. So, I can hear the sound. I've got an incoming call on my Surface. You sound like you're at the back of the room. I don't think your headset's kicked in.
Yeah, no. It's
there you go. Perfect.
Oh,
I didn't have the microphone down.
Almost too loud.
Never too loud. Good evening, Jason, and good evening, Gary.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to the show. We did say we'd have Ed, but I spoke to Ed earlier this week, and I think he's planning to come on next week.
That's all right.
Yeah, so we'll let him do that. So
we'll hopefully have a new build by then.
Yeah,
ever the optimist.
I think we'll have a build this week.
Ooh, very positive.
Yes, I'm feeling positive. I think we'll have a new build of Windows 10 for desktop this week.
Yes, I think our desktop, and I think we might have some more story about mobile next week, since it's Mobile World Congress coming up fairly shortly.
Yes, so we can talk a bit. We'll talk about Windows 10. We'll talk about the Microsoft band, lots of updates on that, and some app updates and some Windows 10 updates, and got quite a few things to talk about. But I wanted to start with something that Gary you highlighted, which is Pebble and their new device that they've launched through Kickstarter. So just tell us a story on this.
Okay, so they've been running this countdown up to today's date for about 3 o'clock UK time, and basically what they did was to launch on Kickstarter a new Pebble Watch. This is the Pebble Time, which differs from the original Pebble Steel and the original Pebble in that it's got a colour screen.
Right.
That's primary difference. It's not a full blown OLED or anything like that. It's a colour variant of their e-paper technology, something they've managed to source, which is pretty impressive. And it's capable of 30 frames per second, daylight readable, and the same battery life as the previous Pebble. Now, I have to say I'm a bit dubious of the design of the new one. It looks a bit toy-like compared to my Steel, although I like the red one, so I might have to have one of those. but the big story about this thing is that they launched it on Kickstarter at 3 o'clock, and they had a $500,000 goal, and 17 minutes after 3 o'clock they'd met that goal.
Wow.
Yes, I saw that. Very quick.
And at this very moment in time, which is how many hours are we in from there? So we're 5 hours in from there.
Yep.
They're at $5.3 million.
Whoa.
So they've been earning $1 million an hour on this project, this new thing. So obviously a lot of people do like the design and are going to go for it. I mean, the other big news that they launched today was their new operating system, so Pebble OS 3. They talked about that, and it's going to be based, rather than being based around apps, they're talking about based around your timeline. So basically you can scroll up and down, as I say, up to go into the future, the past, down to go to the future, which seems the wrong way around to me, but it's more logical than I've watched. and center buttons today. So it's not going to be focused on apps. And I guess with the way that Apple are going with their watch, it's very app focused. Everything goes back to the homepage. And Pebble has had a fair app face, well, more of a watch face app focus, I guess, more than anything else. That's what most people associate with Pebble. But you've been able to have the apps on there as well. But they've been limited. You've only been able to have a certain number of apps, depending on which version of the watch you've got. And this new one will actually be effectively allowed to have unlimited apps, but they'll be plugged into this timeline approach. Although you still can access them separately. But the timeline's a bit, I guess, in some ways it reminds me of the Google's approach, Google Now, but different in that it's actually very much based on your calendar, which for a watch I think is the right approach. It does seem natural that you scroll through the day's appointments on the watch and see what's coming up, and if you want to see something which happened previously, when you go, what was that score, that football game I was interested in, you go back in time and have a look at it and put in emails and things like that. So, but I want to see how it works in practice. Now, what is really cool about it is the animation quality on it, because I got those 30 frames per second. They seem to get some really nice animations. I did actually see a really interesting interview with one of the designers where they said they'd actually taken use of one of the flaws in the e-paper design, where it sort of stretches a bit as you scroll through it to actually put it into the animations. But that looks really good, and it does look very fast, very fluid. The whole design actually reminds me a little bit of Windows Phone.
Right, yeah.
Because it's very sort of live tile based in a lot of ways. All the apps now have live tiles, effectively.
Which is a bit like on the Microsoft Band with all the live.
Yeah, indeed, yeah. And obviously, this is a squared off screen, unlike the Band, which is the thing, and it is watch size. As I said, the design's a bit. Well, to my mind, it's a little bit clunky. It's got a huge outer bezel on it. Someone said it reminded them of a Tamagotchi on your wrist, and I think there is something to be said for that. But having said that, I think the concept is good. The colour screen looks really good, because it's so difficult to get a colour screen where you get 7 days battery life. And that's going to be a killer, I think. For me, I don't like charging my watch that often. That's one of the things I've really liked about this Pebble Steel.
Yeah, I mean, I've got into the habit now of doing daily charges, but it's another device that I have for my battery anxiety complex.
Yeah. The other big change is they've put a microphone in it.
So that would feel like dictation and things.
Yeah, for dictation, for short replies to things. No integration with Siri or Google now yet. I think they might be working on some of that, but certainly you can reply to emails, and on Apple you can only reply to Gmails, but on Google you can reply to virtually anything using voice, phone calls, whatever, and text messages. What's clever about that is they've maintained the waterproofness of the watch, so you can still go swimming with it with a microphone in, which is quite an impressive thing to do. Most people have failed to do that. They've only been able to get splash proofing, so that's quite good. The other thing which appeals to the tinkerer in me is they've effectively created an expansion port on it. They've moved the charging port to the back, and it seems to be that's also doubling up as an expansion connector. So you'll be able to add sensors into it. So you imagine having a watch strap, which has got a sensor built into it, a bit like the Band has. In fact, I could imagine a Band for Pebble. Yeah. Except for the Pebble doesn't support Windows Phone yet again. They're still only supporting iPhone and Android with this platform. But hopefully third parties will help with that.
Yeah, I mean, you're using some third-party apps. You're finding that's better supported now?
Yeah, I mean, the third-party apps work well, and there's still some issues with them, getting on sorting out. But for most of my day-to-day stuff, I can certainly use the third-party Windows phone apps. So just a few more things on this, just to say it's basically got the same button layout as the current ones. The Timelines operating system will be coming to the original Pebble and Pebble Steel. They haven't actually announced when yet. It's compatible with Android 4 and above, and iOS 8. It's not too unlimited. From a developer point of view, it's got some really nice new features coming in, because you're going to have the API to support 64. It's a 64 color device, so it sounds a bit limited, but certainly what they've shown it looks all right. And voice to text as well. You'll be able to support that in your own code. So lots of nice stuff with it. But it's just remarkable how much money is pouring in. It's up to 5.334 now.
So that's people effectively pre-ordering. With Kickstarter, it's which is a bit weird way of using Kickstarter, but it's the way Kickstarter seems to be turning into. I think Ed actually had a comment on this earlier on Twitter that Kickstarter is not supposed to be a marketplace, but it has become a marketplace for pre-orders. Yeah. So these are effectively a lot of people all pre-ordering the devices, and that's a lot of devices though still, isn't it? It's an impressive number of devices.
There's 25,812 backers at the moment, so it's 25,812 plus a few devices, because some of those backers may have actually backed more than one. So I better go into what the pledges are. Now, if you wanted to be an early bird, too late. They're all gone very, very rapidly, because there were only 10,000 of those available, so they went virtually instantly. At one point, people were actually complaining that they were getting accepted for the early bird and then been told it's already gone. That's because everybody basically clicked the button at once. So it really did go very, very quickly. So that was $159 plus $10 postage. I think it's genuine postage. One nice thing about this is they are shipping to the UK with this, unlike the Band. And they will be shipping from Ireland, so it'll be EU, so there shouldn't be any import duty on it.
Right. I mean, what they've done very cleverly, I think, really, is they've gone very different way than Apple seem to be going with their device. I know we've not seen it yet, but we've seen the keynotes where it's, like you said, very app-centric, probably quite short battery life, fairly high price, jewelry sort of status, but a lot of functionality and a fairly complex UI. When Pebble have took the exact opposite approach with a very simple UI, long battery life, not fancy display too much. I know they've got this new color display, but they've kept things relatively simple so that you get these longer charging periods.
Yeah, and I think that's the right way for them to go. They've gone with their strengths. I mean, the three things people said I could always see people saying on Pebbles when they wanted a new device, they didn't want to lose the battery life, they didn't want to lose the waterproofing, and they didn't want to lose the watch face customization in the apps they'd already got. Well, they've kept those, but in a slightly reduced way. So that might be one point where they might lose out a little bit. But certainly the first two, they've definitely got 100%. So if you still want one of these, you'll have to pledge $179 plus postage.
I mean, still that's a good price. Though. I mean, you're going to be what the Apple Watch could be $300-400, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So you're talking about 100. I can't do the maths, but £110, something like that, there, with postage. So it's a good price. It could once they get to retail, they'll be $199. Probably plus shipping as well.
I mean, I suppose its competitor is not the Apple Watch, but it's some of the Android watches.
Well, I guess so. Although they've gone a slightly different route as well. I mean, the great thing about this is obviously with the latest operating system, I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago, you can now actually respond to Google Wear notifications with an Android device. So you've got all that built into it. And this timeline thing does look quite interesting, especially as you can pin your own stuff to it as well. The other interesting thing from a development point of view is that they have also announced a web service approach where you'll be able to send things directly to the watch.
Right.
Without having to have an app on the phone to do it. So that could be quite interesting. I'm not sure how that would work with a Windows Phone. Because obviously it doesn't have any connectivity directly to the internet.
Right. Yeah. So these are still dependent on a host device, like
so it's Bluetooth LE connectivity or Bluetooth and Bluetooth LE connectivity, depending on what you've got on your phone, and that's basically how it talks and works. No, I mean the current one basically requires the Pebble app or the compatible app on the Windows Phone to be running to work.
Yeah, I mean, Jason, you were just saying in the chat room that you think battery life's the key.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think I think the Apple Watch that's going to be. I think they've tried to do too much, and I think 2 days minimum for me really, because that gives you the opportunity to kind of miss a charge. I mean, my I've got my Fitbit and I tend to charge that up every day or so, even though it lasts 5 to 7 days. But I think 1 day is just not long enough. You could quite easily forget to charge that and then be in a situation where it's unusable almost. I think 2 days is the minimum, really. I think Pebble with their first watch, I think, Gary, say you get about 5 days, don't you, or something?
Well, I'm currently, because I've cut down the number of notifications I'm getting on it, because I was getting quite a lot of spam notifications coming through. I'm now up to about 7 days. And I know people who've got 12, 14 days out of it by having just a very simple watch face.
Yeah, and I think that's the idea. I mean, they're supposed to, in a way, the most advanced ones are supposed to replace a watch, and you wouldn't want to be taking your watch off and charging it every day. Yeah,
and I think that's it. I mean, it's a watch first, which I like. But yeah, one that's now going to be a watching calendar first, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think Apple's approach seems to be they want it to be an extension of the iPhone, and I think that's possibly the wrong approach. I think a watch. I think really. You kind of need to tell the time and maybe show you some, track walking and those kind of sensor things, but also, maybe, kind of notifications and just something. So, if your phone's in your pocket, which mine quite often is, instead of me just getting it out and, to check is there anything on it, just something that kind of, just nudges you to say yes to something that needs your attention.
Yeah.
And I think, we'll talk more about the band in a minute, but that's what the Microsoft Band does. It gets your attention. I was just saying before we started, actually, to Gary, that I've now turned the volume down on my phone for notifications, because I don't need audio notifications now, because I get the haptic feedback, and I find that a lot better now. And the the update to the band, which we'll talk about shortly, that allows you to do a little bit more with it as well. So another reason why you can leave your phone in your pocket. So but it's that sort of triage and that I like about it, and to get notifications. So you don't necessarily want full blown apps on there, but you want the sort of a portion of the user interface there for you to see whether things need attention.
Yeah, I know that the Microsoft Band has been very deliberately, seems to have been very deliberately engineered and marketed that it isn't a smartwatch. But I think in some ways it would be quite nice if it did have more of a rounded or more square appearance, so it could actually be a watch as well.
Yeah, although that would actually probably make the functionality of the keyboard and things they've added today less usable.
Yeah. I guess it's really, I mean, ultimately, do you want something? You got your watch on one wrist, and then say the Microsoft Band on another wrist. It's kind of then you just end up walking around with a ton of jewelry on your arms.
Well,
like B.A. Baracus.
Yeah. Although I have to say, there's that strap which was another Kickstarter project. I can't remember the name of it, which was basically an idea that you actually had a wristband to put onto your normal watch, and that had your sensors on it and your screen at the back. And you can imagine that the band being used for something like that. Maybe a pebble on the front and the band on the back.
Well, I have to say though, I generally don't wear my proper nice watch as much as I used to do. In fact, now I'm just wearing the band. That's all. 99% of the time, I just got the band on because that does everything really. It does the watch functions perfectly well as the additional stuff.
Yeah, I really like what they've done with the update on the band today. I think it's quite impressive.
So, but anyway, so that on the Pebble, impressive numbers there from our Kickstarter. I guess that's one of the highest Kickstarter, the fastest growing ones. Anyway.
Certainly the fastest. It's the fastest to reach its goal, and Richard's goal the fastest to 1 million as well. I'm ticking a little timer up here, which is actually monitoring how much it's raised since the start of the show. So it's at $128,000 since the start of the show at the moment.
That's almost as much as us.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah, not quite, but yeah. Well, we'll keep it out there. So, Gary, are you tempted to jump in on that, or are you happy with your current device?
I'm very happy with my current one. I think I will probably jump in from the development point of view anyway, because I'm already getting asked about, because I'm developing a couple of things for Pebble at the moment, so I'm already being asked about the colour and notifications. So I think that will go down quite well with some of my corporate clients.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll keep an eye on that, but. It'd be nice if they supported Windows with a universal app for Windows, so you could Windows 10 or Windows Phone or whatever you want.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting actually seeing how that goes, because some of the things we've had rumored for Windows 10 on the Bluetooth side would make it a lot easier to write a Pebble app. So let's hope that's the case.
So the other related to that is that Microsoft released a big update for the Microsoft Band yesterday with a whole selection of new features. So there was a new update to the band, which we'll talk about. There's a new website and there's a developer SDK. So, first we'll talk about the update to the band itself. So this was delivered through the Microsoft Health app, which the Windows Phone app, but I think that there is an Android and iOS, so it can come down there. Or there's a desktop app which you can use for syncing if you can't get any other apps. So I got the update yesterday, which then actually improved the first. I did notice it looks much better on a 1520. They've made use of the screen, so I don't know that I can really show it to the chat room, but the band app is actually based in sort of panels, and they've changed the font size slightly so that you can get an extra panel on there, which makes, I know it doesn't sound a lot, but it actually makes quite a big difference, a lot more usable. And they changed the setting screen so you can see more, which makes sense on a big device like the 1520. You might as well use that screen size. But the update that they did to the band added a new cycling app, a bike app, which I know that not something I use, but I know quite a few people that have talked about the band. It's actually sort of a critical feature for them, and as it didn't support that, it wasn't something for them. So I think that's sort of there by popular request. And the other changes were a new reading mode. And it's hard to explain this, and I don't know if I can display it on the screen, but I did do a video to go along with this, so I'll include a link for the video in the show notes. But for example, I got a tweet from you earlier on, Gary, and it comes up on the band. Now, previously, it came up with just the sort of the first 2 or 3 lines, so it'd say like, it's like Gary, mentioned by Gary, and then it says, you know, at Ice Dixon and at Pebble, which was what you were talking about. And then you can kind of scroll to read it, but it was a bit awkward. But now you tap one button on there and it reads the message out. This could be a text message, an email, tweet, or whatever, a word at a time. So it sounds really weird, but it actually works really well. It uses the whole of the screen for the word. So you don't have to be sat sort of scrunched up with this thing right in your face, which you do when it's in the sort of small preview text. When you tap on it, you can have it quite a long way. So you can have it sort of almost down, you know, at arm's length, and you can read it really well. And it's amazing that it works, but it does actually work really well.
Great.
Jason, do you see the video? You'll have to check it if you've not seen it.
I haven't seen the video yet.
Yeah, so it flashes this one word at a time, but it actually works really well. So I was
yeah, so it's basically the speed reading technique, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so an email just come through on here, and you know I can just read this one word at a time, and you know, really straightforward, really easy, and a nice something I wouldn't have thought of adding, but it actually works really well. As well as that, what they've done for the text message and for phone calls, actually, but because you know you can reject a call and send a message, but you can reply directly from the band. And again, this was something that I didn't think would be very applicable, you know, with such a tiny display. But I've got a text message there now. I can hit the reply option, and then I get the option of a canned response, which you had before. So you can have, I think, 4 canned responses, like yes, no, or I'll call you back, or whatever. But there's a Cortana button, so you can you press the Cortana button and read out your text, and it just replies with that text, which works really well. And Cortana's the text-to-speech engine, or speech-to-text engine, very reliable, and I've been using that. But then even much stranger to see, but to actually in use works quite well, is there's an on-screen keyboard.
Yes.
Which sounds really strange, but I'll show it on there. It's a QWERTY keyboard on the screen. With haptic feedback as you type the letters. And you think, well, that's impossible because there's no way your finger can, you know, when you press a letter, it tends to seem to be pressing 2 or 3 letters at the same time. But it uses the Windows Phone style, and I think it says connecting when you use it. So I think he's actually using the phone to do this in the background, I think. But it actually uses the Windows Phone style predictive text and the word flow, so that it actually picks the words correctly. And you know, as I'm typing hello here, type the letters in one word at a time. But if you swipe over, I've just typed in hello, and there it is. And then you can just send it. But it also has the same correction options that you have on Windows Phone, where if I tap on the word that I think was wrong, it gives me the options at the top to pick a different word as you do in Windows Phone, or delete the word and start again. And then there's just a send button. So if you want to quickly just reply yet, oh, not yet, or see you in 5 minutes, it's very easy to do that. You don't even have to get your phone out of the pocket now. And I really like it. And I say it works incredibly well. And they've done a great job designing that UI.
Yeah, but it does look exceptionally good for small screen factor. As I said earlier, I think the fact that you've got that horizontal layout actually helps with having something like that keyboard. It'd be more difficult to do on a squared off layout. You wouldn't have as much real estate to put it on. But yeah, they just seem to work exceptionally well and very cleverly done.
Yeah, and it's just not something you would really expect to even work. But I think the work that they've put into the Wordflow keyboard and Cortana and predictive text and all this machine learning that Microsoft are doing is actually paying off, and they can use it for things like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean all that. I mean they've really done a lot of work with the user experience and the user interface, haven't they, with Windows Phone, and now we're seeing it kind of with Windows 10. It just goes to show. I mean, you know, we talk about, or some people talk about Microsoft not innovating, but I think there's some, you know, there has been some really clever stuff coming out, and this is just something that really shows it off.
Yeah, I think we're starting to see the payoff for some of the technologies that they've invested in many years ago, and we're starting to see these appear in different areas. So I would imagine that this sort of that WordFlow keyboard that you see in Windows Phone would be something that would be on the tablet. In fact, when I use the Link 7, I miss the Windows Phone style keyboard on it because there's no swipe or anything like that. So hopefully that will come to
I hope so, and I hope it also comes to touch on the bigger tablets as well.
Yeah. I mean the the number. I mean, more than once I've tried to use the shape writing on my Surface.
Yeah. So all in all, a really nice update for the band, and it is about time. There's not been a lot of changes since they released it, but it's really, really good. So if you're a cyclist, it's fantastic. But if you're just using it for the notifications, things like that, then that's great as well. It says, I noticed the release notes, you do need Windows Phone 8.1 GDL1 to work for the WordFlow keyboard. So I guess it is passing that processing off to the phone, which is quite clever how they're doing that as well.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
The other thing is that it had in there was integration to Microsoft Health Vault, which I don't know if you've seen that, but it's Health Vault is sort of, I don't think whether it's even officially launched over here yet, but in the US you can key in all your any health issues, allergies, medical records, that kind of things, and now it will store all the data from your band as well. So your calorie burns and your cardio rates and all this, all the sensor stuff.
Yeah, I think it was kind of officially available over here. I mean, if you with the Lumias, the higher end Lumias that had the kind of motion sensors built into them, that you could plug that into the Microsoft Vault, and my Fitbit could be connected to the Microsoft Vault. But it's not something that really necessarily gets publicized over here. I think it's I don't know what its user base is, but it seems to be a bigger thing in the States than over here.
Yeah. Now the other thing that they've done as well for that is there's a website with the Microsoft Health data on there, or the band data on there. So previously that wasn't possible. There was no web UI. The only way to do it was to use one of the apps, the Android, iOS, or Windows Phone apps. But now there's a really detailed app on the Microsoft Health Store health site, which gives you a lot of the information that you get from the phone. So you can view your sleep patterns and your runs and your exercise things, but you can also there's also summaries of there, some nice summaries of your sleep patterns, so you can see like charts of the month and all that kind of thing. So again, another sort of nice upgrade to the app as well.
Yeah,
and then the other thing they've released, which is I'd say ask Gary about, is a software development kit for the band.
Yes, which does look very interesting.
I don't know if you've had time to have a look at that.
Only very, very briefly. So it does seem to open virtually everything up, which is very cool.
Yeah, it does. I had a quick look at the documentation, and a few people on Twitter I've seen have been playing with it already. But there's the full SDK. You've got access to all the sensors, and you've got also access to the notifications and to create your own tiles within the UI, and then integrate that with the Windows Phone app. But I think there's an SDK for Windows Phone, and planning to release an Android and iOS SDK as well pretty soon. So that looks really good, because I'm interested to see. I mean, we've seen some good apps already that for the without an SDK, using sort of people reverse engineering the web services and things. But this looks like it has a lot of potential. I don't know what kind of things we'll see in there, but lots of notifications and things like that, I think will be great for that.
Yeah, I can certainly see an awful lot. Going back to the Pebble, there's just so many apps that have been developed for that since the API for that was released. It's just there's so many things you can do with it.
Yeah.
Do you think with all these recent updates, and Microsoft clearly seem to be quite focused on this product, do you think we might see either a wider international launch, or maybe a hardware refresh that leads to an international launch?
I hope so. I really do, yeah, because it's a great product. They've got a great job with it, and it is kind of niche, but that they designed it to be that niche, so they need to get it out there. I mean, I still don't even know whether they're selling. I mean, I did see someone joking on Twitter say, "Why don't they release an app to show you when they're in stock?"
Yeah. And we've still got the Vivo watch coming, which we spoke about last week, the Asus.
Yes.
So that's possibly still being rumoured that might be a band clone in some way. So it'd be interesting to see. I mean, whether they release the hardware in all the countries or they just license it out to manufacturers, and we suddenly see a plethora of these before Christmas.
So yeah, I've just got an email now. It says, "Take your band for a bike ride," and I'm reading it one word at a time. It's just come through from the sign up for the band and stuff. So yeah, I really like that on my device. I used it when walking the other weekend, and I used it to track it. And through the Unband app, you can export as a GPX file, and then you can import it into other programs. I think Google Maps as well, so you can actually see the overlay and things like that if you wanted to do things with other apps with it. So there's a huge amount of potential for it, and there's the SDK they've done, I think, is quite nice as well. There's a really nice sort of design guideline PDF which shows you know, the best way to do the UIs and things, and are very specific, you know, because the image icon size and the gaps and the fonts and everything. So they've detailed it very well. So they've done a good job documenting that. So hopefully, Gary, you're going to write me a band app. I'm not sure how you do your testing on it though, and whether there's an emulator.
I wonder if it's an emulator. I haven't seen that actually. There ought to be an emulator. It usually is on most of Microsoft stuff. So
yeah, so a TDL app that notifies me when there's something happening. I'm not quite sure what you want with that, but one that could alert me when there's new episodes of My Vice available to watch.
Yep, yeah, that could be it.
Yeah.
Sensor to detect how white your suit is.
alerts if you've put socks on. Yep.
Yeah.
No. Anybody who's not watched My Vice will have a clue what we're talking about.
Yeah.
and anybody hasn't listened to podcasts for the last few weeks won't have a clue what we're talking about either.
I've got a use. Maybe it could notify me when the London Underground's I've got line closures or delays.
And my Pebble does that, so it's definitely on the back.
Yeah, I mean that's the kind of thing that you could have those, and a developer could use. I mean, I know Cortana does something like that, but because it comes up on the band to tell me when I need to leave. But yeah, a developer could create a Windows phone app that monitors for delays and things like that, and then bubbles those notifications up to a dedicated tile on the band.
Yeah, makes sense.
I have a funny story about Cortana. As we talked about last week, we use a room for our shared family calendar. So my wife we both put everything in there. And last Thursday, my kids are obviously off school, and in the calendar was the fact that I got some friends coming around, and I got a notice from Cortana when I was down in London at 9:30 saying, it'll take you 2 hours to get to. But yeah, not sure I'm quite going to make that. If you leave now, you'll just get there in time.
Yeah.
I do like that. There's a new OneDrive API out.
Oh, I just saw that this afternoon. Yeah.
Which is really quite exciting, actually. I think. Whereas in fact, it's got sort of like two sections to it, because you've got the OneDrive Private and the OneDrive Business stuff all built into it. But it could actually lead to some more apps being written for OneDrive, because it's got basically full access to the OneDrive. It allows you to check for notifications of new files arriving and things like that.
Right. So as a developer, you could use OneDrive storage and, like you said, put notifications. And
and it also allows you to do things like watching a folder for files arriving. So you could use it to trigger events and things. So I've actually been thinking about some possible applications with my home automation system doing that. So it's not like a snapshot of a video camera comes in and it triggers an event, something like that. But there's certainly loads of possibilities there.
Yeah, that's really good, actually. Yeah, that's like, so it's you could use it as a sort of a back end for your Internet of Things projects as well, and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. So, and you can imagine that when we talk about the Raspberry Pi 2 as well, you get that possibility that could talk to OneDrive.
Yeah, and then you've got your central storage.
Yeah.
I mean, so go ahead, Jace.
I was going to say maybe a developer can plug into the OneDrive API and develop placeholders.
Yes. Well, I was actually thinking that, and probably haven't got time to do it, but yeah, it would be a good idea. I'm sure someone out there is thinking about that as we speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfectly possible. Yeah. Actually, talking of OneDrive as well, I just want to say my wife filled her iPhone up, and I thought, oh, I'll delete some of her pictures because they're all stored still on the phone. So there's like 4 years worth of pictures, and I'll put them on iCloud, and then we can delete them off the phone, and then they've still got my iCloud. But iCloud make it so difficult to do that. First of all, you get a very limited amount of storage on iCloud, and by the time you've got your iPhone backups on there, it's not very very flexible to do that. So anyway, I spent a bit of time faffing about with it, and then I gave up in the end. Installed OneDrive, and just uploaded all the files to OneDrive. And apart from the problem where there was like 4,000 photos to upload, and it seemed the Wi-Fi gets disconnected, I think, on the iPhone when it goes off into sleep mode, or the app goes into background mode. So it stops uploading until you switch it back on and go back to the app. But eventually we got it to do it. So all the photos now from that phone are in OneDrive, and got plenty of space free now, and it worked really well. I've not used OneDrive very much on iOS, but I've got to say it worked really well and better than iCloud. And it just shows you really that Microsoft's cross-platform approach is starting to pay off.
It is
definitely. Yeah. So, sorry, go on, Gary.
I was probably going to say, but I just love the fact we're seeing this across all the platforms. It really is good, and because of course the API is open, is at the moment for Windows and Windows Phone, but there's no reason why that won't suddenly appear available for other platforms as well, because it's just C#, so it'll be on Xamarin in no time at all, I'm sure.
And did you see the rumours that Samsung, the Galaxy S6, will sort of loaded with all the Microsoft apps, including OneDrive?
That would not surprise me at all. Having seen, because obviously we've had the settlement in court over the Android royalties that Samsung were paying to Microsoft, or Apple, I should say. I wouldn't be surprised that was part of the deal. Yeah,
and I think that's just another way, isn't it? It's cross-platform approach. If they get the OneDrive to be the default cloud storage and Outlook to be the default email, and on the S6, then they've got a massive market for it just by being the default on a very popular device.
Yeah, and if assuming that partnership takes off, and assuming Microsoft can develop all the apps, in some ways it kind of gives people using Android a way to maybe disconnect from the Google services.
Yeah, I wonder if that applies to Tizen as well.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, why would you, if they've got that deal, and why not? Yeah. But I've been impressed with OneDrive. I mean, I've used it for a long while, right back to the mesh days and live folder sync and all that. But it's come a long way, and the cross-platform was one of the reasons why I went away from it, because I was using Android and iOS, and now I've got it on every. Well, I have literally got it on every device that I own. There isn't anything it doesn't run on. So anyway, that's the SDK. We talked about that, so pretty pleased with that. And I did do a video about the Microsoft Band as well, so I'll include that link. You can actually see it in action, which is a lot easier to see on the screen than it is to demonstrate. Now, Windows 10 now. So did you get the updates from last week?
But the updates to allow updates.
Yes.
Yep, got those.
So I said at the beginning of the show, I'm pretty confident we'll get an update. We'll get a new build this week.
Yeah. I am fairly confident we'll get a new build this week. I'm not sure we'll get a mobile build until, or whatever we're calling it. Phones and small tablets. Okay. I don't think we'll get some phones and small tablets built before kicked off, but I'm sure we'll get a desktop, whatever.
I guess the next milestone to look forward to is when we, for those of us in the Xbox One preview program, how long before we actually get an Xbox dashboard built on Windows 10 to preview.
Indeed.
Yeah.
That can't be too far off, I would expect.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I think they won't go as early with the Xbox preview, because the preview program for Xbox is essentially just a month early, isn't it, of the final version. So I'm not sure we would see sort of really early like we're doing with the phone. I don't know.
Yeah, I think, well, potentially they could do it as an opt-in, couldn't they? I mean, people on the Insider program and on the Xbox preview program could maybe get a look.
Like a fast ring, like they're doing with the Windows 10 builds, yeah.
Yeah, and also because at some point, people are going to want a way of developing or testing their device applications. You know, the one application across all screens. You know, developers are going to want to be able to test that on their. It seems to be talk that it's going to be announced next week about the consumer Xboxes becoming developer devices. So I think we should certainly see that at some point. It would be nice to see a new Windows 10 build. I'm still waiting for one that I feel is ready to be put on my Surface Pro 3, but I am itching to get it on there.
Might still be a little while. I think I've still got some tweaking to do on the tablet experience. But
yeah, I think for me, as I said before, I think when the Spartan browser becomes available, I think that would be quite. That would be another tick in the box.
Yeah.
And also, I think there was maybe some battery issues. I think again that would be another tick in the box. But yeah, I think I'd like to see the tablet experience a bit more robust before I make the jump. But I am starting to get itchy feet.
Yeah, I was like saying on the Encore 8. I really do miss the full screen browser. I think the desktop IE on an 8-inch tablet is not a nice interface.
No.
And it really does miss that full screen browser. And I think that's when Spartan arrives, that will be, sort of, like you said, a tick that will push you a bit closer. Apart from that, I think, there's a few things I found, like app startup seems to be a bit hit and miss sometimes. And I'm still not completely happy with the start screen on the tablet. It still doesn't feel quite right to me, and I think there's just a bit more polish to put on that.
Yeah, I'm sure that sort of stuff coming. One thing on Spartan, I'm just hoping it's going to actually take away the use case I've got currently, where I have to switch back to the desktop browser. We obviously got things like the Silverlight usage.
Right, yeah.
It'd be lovely to see that actually in the Spartan, so that we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, because I essentially, I think the Spartan browser is the browser, isn't it? And it's the one browser, and IE is in there just for backwards compatibility. It's not going to be. I don't think the use case is, you need to do this, you need to switch back to IE. I think IE is hopefully just going to be there for sort of enterprise stuff.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping my sort of use cases don't qualify as being enterprise stuff.
Yeah,
I'd like to be able to just have a touch friendly browser for everything I do.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I don't know what else is in there that yeah, I think those are the main things really. It's just I really like it. Like I said, the battery life on this Encore 8 is now, I would say, better than it was when I was on Windows 8.1. I think they've really improved it in the last few updates. I don't know quite how they've done that, but yeah, this is nice now. Just get the browser sorted, and I think we're not far off. And of course, I'd like to see the new Outlook mail app, because as I've mentioned previously, I don't like the mail app anymore. I've fallen out with it.
Yeah, I mean the one thing that is really tempting me is with on my Surface Pro 3, I've actually got a boot menu, one that disables, so I can choose whether or not Hyper-V is enabled or disabled, because when you're using Hyper-V, it turns off connected standby. So I have that option to switch between the two, whereas I know for a fact that's fixed in Windows 10. So that would make having to keep rebooting, whenever I want to switch usage scenarios. I think that's quite a big draw for me.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm looking forward to see what we get with the new build and what that brings to it. And I think we'd like to see some of the apps. I think they've done a good job especially on the phone side, of decoupling the apps away from the core OS. So we'll see faster updates of browser and messages and things like that.
Yes.
And so far I've been finding it on the phone actually works pretty well. I've not really got any major issues with Windows 10 on this 630. I actually, like I said, I know I said this, I really like this 630. It's a great little phone. I think anybody wanting to try Windows 10, definitely have a look at a 630 or 635. I know that this has got 512 mega RAM, which is a bit limited, but I mean, I'm only using it for testing, so it's not too bad. But I believe that there's supposed to be a 1 gig version on its way, isn't there?
Yes, I saw about that. Yes,
but then we might see some new devices at Mobile World Congress.
Almost certainly.
Yeah, but not flagship phones.
No, the flagship phones. What do you reckon with the Windows 10 launch?
Yeah, I think I'd quite like to see a flagship phone with a fingerprint reader. I think I know Microsoft are kind of, particularly Windows 10, they're looking to move away from the passwords, which is something that I'm really interested in. If you could get sign into my Surface Pro 3 just because my Windows phone's nearby, I really like that idea. But yeah, I would quite like to see a fingerprint reader, I think. My wife is always still showing off on her iPad Mini 3 when she unlocks it, and now the NatWest app has been updated to support signing in with the Touch ID. So I think I'd like to see, Windows Phone having something comparable with that.
Yeah, actually, I'd like to see it because with the Pebble or the Band or an Android Watch or an Apple Watch, the devices know where you are in proximity. So if I come to switch on my 1520, that the Band is 10 centimeters, 5 centimeters away from the screen. So why ask me the pin code when it knows it's me because I'm wearing the Band? If someone switches it on and the Band proximity is 10 feet away, then ask for the pin because it's not that close. So I'd like to see some bit of intelligence done like that, but that doesn't seem to be anything that they're talking about at the moment. But that should be something that, as I say, my Surface Pro 3, again, I press the Windows key and the Band is a few feet, a few inches from it, a few centimeters from it.
Yeah, I mean, certainly Microsoft have said with Windows 10 it's going to lay the foundation for hopefully we can retire the password. But I know Android already has a feature, doesn't it, whereby it won't ask you for a PIN code to unlock your phone if it's in a safe, what you've flagged as a safe location. So that kind of technology does exist. It's just, it would make me nervous that just because my phone's at home doesn't mean there might not be somebody that might want to have a look at the phone, or it would make it open for the kids to use whenever they wanted. I mean, they are good that they'll always switch to the kids mode on my Windows phone, but if they didn't have to unlock it, it would be easier for them to just go straight into the phone.
Yeah, and I suppose that's where you could work on something like proximity, where if my band is 2 or 3 centimeters away, that's okay. That knows it's you that's doing it potentially. But then taking a step further, fingerprint reader would be even better. I know my wife uses it on her phone, but she forgets to use it about 50% of the time.
How about unlocking your Band, Ian?
What's that, sorry?
Unlock it with your Band. That's the answer.
Yeah, I mean, if there was NFC, you just tap it and tap to unlock.
Well, it knows you're there anyway, Bluetooth paired.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about, because there's a lot of apps for the Pebble, for example, which unlock Android phones just by bringing them close enough, which makes a lot of sense.
Okay, well, there you go. You've got your app. You've got an SDK. You've got an app. If you could send it me over tomorrow, that'd be great. Yeah, I'll test it for you.
Actually, that's one of the things which is currently limited by the Bluetooth implementation on the Windows phone. You wouldn't be able to do it currently,
yeah,
even with the SDK.
Yeah, because there's no way to unlock the phone from the SDK.
Yeah.
Interesting enough, the place I'm currently working, that one of the people that deal with the mobile phones for the organisation, I overheard a conversation. Obviously, I could only hear one part of it, but clearly the other person on the phone who was ordering their mobile phone and actually was asking for a Windows phone, and I heard her reply with, "Oh, what's Cortana? What does that do?"
Right.
So it's as we keep saying, the popularity of Windows phones seems to just doesn't align with its market share for some reason.
Yeah, well, market share isn't sold phones. As I've said this before, it's shipped phones. It's not necessarily the same thing. I think I've said this way ago, but basically, if you're selling Android phones, you have to have one of each to demo it somewhere online, or at least have one in stock somewhere in case someone chooses that one phone. So you end up shipping a lot of phones, which not necessarily all of them get sold. And what I've always been intrigued about is what the return rates are like, and they don't get published so often. It's a ship phone thing.
And I think a recent, is it AdDuplex or one of these sort of services sort of published recently that I think in Europe the Windows Phone is still doing not bad, and I think the market share of the cheap devices is going up.
Yeah.
Probably because they keep selling 630s for people who want to try Windows 10.
Yeah.
Two idiots like me, gullible fools like me. Yeah.
But the other thing, which I always think is a bit skewed with the AdDuplex thing, is because it's based on advertising. and people rendering adverts. And most Windows Phone apps don't use that duplex. So it's, I think that's a skewed figure in its own right as well.
Yeah, they kind of, I guess, do they sort of extrapolate the figures out by thinking, oh, we do 5% of.
I don't know how they work how they work it out, but it's certainly, if they didn't do something like that, it'd be very skewed.
Yeah. But I actually you do see a lot of Windows phones about now in the UK. I think a lot of it's just in the US you don't see them. But still, I mean, compared to Android and iOS, it's still not many. But like I said, some of the other day, you can actually buy a lot of these 635s for one iPhone. I think you buy 5 or something like that for one iPhone 6.
Yeah. I do seem to see quite a few the iPhone. What was it? The iPhone 5Cs around. Because it kind of catches you out because they kind of look a bit Lumia shaped, and so you look at them and you see the bright colours, you think, oh, that must be a Lumia phone. Then you look closer, it's no, it's an iPhone 5C.
Yeah, that could be it. But so far, I've got to say as well, still the one thing that bugs me on my Encore 8 Windows 10 is the lack of PIN password. That it just doesn't work, and it's very frustrating. I've got a picture password, but it's not as good as a PIN password. Did you get try on one of yours, Gary? I think you've got the same problem.
Yeah, I had to revert back to a normal password actually in the end on this Windows 10 machine. I just couldn't get picture passwords to work either. Yeah. So, but there are a couple of posts about that around where there's people saying that basically if you reset a few things, you can get them to work. But I just haven't had a chance to try it out and see if it will work. But it's definitely annoying. I've not had a problem on the 2 devices I did a clean install on. They seem to have been okay. But
yeah, but it's new build this week. I'll be quite happy to see that. Now, what else have we got to talk about? Oh, Microsoft Miracast wireless display adapter available
in the UK.
Yes, for £59.
Seems a bit pricey.
Yeah, quite a few people replied back to me on Twitter when I did the post about it, especially. And where I thought about it is he's quite right, because you can get the Roku stick I think it's for £49.
Yeah.
That does Miracast, so you £10 cheaper, plus you get all the Roku features.
Yeah, although I have to say that having tested in anger the Microsoft one the other week, the actual quality of the stream on it is really good.
Yeah, so that could be a differentiator.
Yeah. I mean, it's like real time. I mean, there's always a little bit of lag usually on the other ones I've tried, whereas this appears to be almost instantaneous. So I was quite impressed by that. I've tried a couple of contacts at Microsoft to get hold of one to do a side-by-side review with the Roku. So we'll see if that's possible. But I think, it's not a mainstream device, is it? And it's certainly. It's not like a Chromecast like we discussed when they announced it for the US. It's not a Chromecast or anything like that. It's just a way of getting a Windows display or Android or Windows Phone onto the TV. But I actually did use the Roku mirror the other day because they wanted to. I can't remember. I was showing the kids something, and I said, "Oh, I'll put it up on the TV." In fact, it was a video I was watching on YouTube. I said, "Oh, I'll show you on the TV," and we just switched the Roku on, and from the Surface, I did the screen mirror in, and that worked really well. I think the only problem I found with Miracast is it's crippled by DRM again. There's so many apps you can't actually Miracast from, things you probably want to.
Right, yeah.
Like videos and stuff like that. It's you just can't get them to Miracast. Can't project this content.
Yeah, and actually I've been trying I've just started doing a video review of an Android powered set-top box from China that I was sent to review, and that's got Miracast in it, but it doesn't work. So,
yeah, well, as I said before, Miracast is a bit dubious.
I couldn't get Miracast to work from a phone or any Windows device. So there's a lot of variations on the standard on that.
Yeah.
Okay, what else are we going to talk about? Oh, there's an update, the March update for the Xbox One. Nothing too major, really. Add screenshots and tuner support for Australia, which I suppose if you're in Australia is important, but not too much new for UK. I think screenshots is quite good.
It's useful.
Yeah, I don't think there was much else. Talking of Roku, Plex have got a new Roku app, which looks quite good. So the new UI, you have to be Plex Pass subscriber for that to you can get the preview of the app, and it looks quite nice actually. It makes the Roku app work really well, and sort of almost as good for playing Plex as it is on the Xbox One, which is pretty good. But there's also a new media browser app for Roku as well, so you've got plenty of choice if you're
got lots of choice if you're a Roku user.
Okay, yeah. So it seems to be, I think, of all the devices, if you're a Windows user, that's probably the most friendly one to Windows users, the Roku. Certainly more friendly to Windows than Chromecast is.
Oh, yeah.
Which is positively not friendly at all. So.
Yeah. Talking about Chromecast, I was at the Bristol Sound and Vision show at the weekend for various business reasons, and I was looking at a new product there, which won the Innovation Award. It's fairly pricey. It's fairly pricey as a Chromecast box, but it does do Chromecast. it's I'm just trying to find the actual name. So it's by a company called Entotem, and it's the Plato streamer, and it's basically a streamer and a high quality amplifier in one box. But it also does Chromecast as well. And it will also rip via vinyls, cassettes, all that sort of stuff, and rather cleverly work out what the track titles and things are for you.
Oh, so it's pulling down the metadata.
Pulling down the metadata, but for LPs and cassettes and all these.
Oh, right. It's matching.
Yes, so it's quite pretty clever, pretty pricey as well, but pretty damn clever. I think about £2.5 grand, but it was, all in quotes, audiophile quality sound. It was really impressive.
Yeah. Oh, funny, we tried. I thought, I've got Dark Side of the Moon on vinyl.
Yeah.
So we hooked up a record player, and I made MP3 or WAV versions of Dark Side of the Moon. I thought, this is great. I've got the vinyl version. But on your phone, it doesn't sound as good. So, as you might as well just use it from the Windows Store. So it's more authentic. But if you're going to listen to the vinyl, you really just need to listen to the vinyl. If you're going to listen to it on anything other than the vinyl, then don't bother with the version. Just use the digital versions.
Yes, so the Plato thing's using Grace Note basically to get your track data.
Right.
But Grace, I've never heard of Grace Note working with vinyl.
Oh yeah, use audio matching.
So that's very impressive, and it'll basically convert it to 24-bit 192K sound, and you can copy that. You can store it on the built-in disk drive, or copy it off onto USB or whatever you want to do, or transfer it to the phone. But it also will take movie formats and stream them as well, and it's a full-blown DLA server. It'll also integrate with Sonos, so it seems to have covered all the bases.
Yeah,
and it's
high-end stuff.
Yeah, but it's Android based as well, which is quite interesting. So they've got the ability to plug in more and more apps. So they've got all the sort of the streaming services on there already. Anything which is on Android as a streaming service is already on there. So it was, I thought, very clever. But what really impressed me was the sound quality. They've done a fabulous job on the sound quality for a small box.
Yeah, I wonder how that translates. So you get all the high quality audio components, but then the operating system, running Android, does that really handle the high quality audio files? Well,
I think they've done a lot of work on that, and it definitely seems to. So yeah, very, very, very clever. I mean, it wasn't just. I mean, I was impressed on it from a practical point of view, but it was impressing the sort of the hi-fi reviewers as well. So that's definitely good stuff.
Sounds good. So I don't know if there's any other trades. The Gadget Show Live's coming up, isn't it, in April?
Yep.
I've not seen the press invites out, but I guess I think that's the just after Easter, isn't it, or between Easter, around Easter time it usually is.
I've actually got that somewhere around here. I'll tell you in a second.
There's a Gadget Show on telly at the moment.
I don't know. I've not seen it. I haven't seen that show for a long while. When they changed the format, it just started to irritate me, and I must admit I haven't watched it for some time.
It has been on. I did catch an episode not so long ago, and I really enjoyed it actually. But those different. I think they changed the people around on it again a bit. So
I think they brought John Bentley back.
Yeah. So that makes a difference.
I think I always he's got that bit more gravitas, hasn't he, than the others, and I quite like his items.
Yeah, it's funny enough, my mum turned it on for me the other week when I was over with her. so she's obviously aware of it. It's quite funny.
Yeah, but I have to have a look. I quite enjoyed the Richard Ayoade Gadget Man, but that was quite. It's got quite a good sense of humour with that show. That was quite.
Yeah.
I'm looking for. I like getting out to the sort of trade shows. Since I didn't get to CS, it's quite nice to, and it's quite an easy one to get to.
Mm.
Right. Well, I think we're kind of running out of time this week. So next week we might have a guest. We might have a new build of Windows 10. So we're planning to talk about that as well. So I'm going to go now and look at my Microsoft Health website and see how much sleep I'm going to get tonight. It's very funny when you look at the average sleep times and so the average time you go to bed, you think perhaps I should go a bit earlier. Perhaps I should shut the Surface down and go to bed a bit earlier.
Yeah. It doesn't automatically detect the fact you've gone to bed in it yet, does it?
No, but I like that. I like the manual doing because it turns the display off and turns any notifications off.
Right.
So I guess the other way, maybe if it knew it would turn the display off for you. But I could imagine that you're just dozing off and it starts buzzing with someone texts you or sends you a mention on Twitter or something like that. So it'd have to be good enough to know not to wait to disturb you while you're not asleep, but trying to go to sleep. But maybe the Fitbits do that already. I don't know.
No, well, mine doesn't.
So does yours try and detect when you're asleep?
No.
Right.
You have to tap it. I think 4 times that it kind of goes into a sleep mode.
Yeah, I don't mind. To be honest, I don't mind putting it in sleep mode. I think that's quite a good feature, and like I said, it shuts it all down, so you don't have to worry about false. And then I put my phone into the quiet nap mode and everything else, so I don't get disturbed by texts and alerts, little Facebook pokes.
It's funny, really. One of the things that kind of put me on to getting the Fitbit was actually less the health aspect of it, but actually I quite like the idea of a silent alarm. Sometimes I have to get up quite early, but actually the vibrations are so strong that it still wakes my wife up anyway.
Yeah, I'd have the same problem with the Pebble Steel because it vibrates the band on it.
Yes.
To answer your question, Ian, it's 7th to 12th of April.
Right. Okay.
So 7th being the press day, and
All
the rest being the more normal people days.
Okay.
So that's good.
We'll get down there.
Yep.
Right. So Gary, where can we find you and what's on Fascinating Tech?
So at Gary WMA, Fascinating Tech, we've got a few interesting things actually coming out of that Sound and Vision show. We're going to have a few nice bits of high-end audio to review. So looking forward to that. And I should tell you that since we started broadcasting, $421,598.
Blimey.
Pebble.
Oh, for Pebble, not us.
Not for us, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, if we were getting that, then Jason, you wouldn't need to be building SQL Hyper-Vs, would you?
No, I'll be on a beach somewhere.
Yeah. So where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at DatabaseJace.
Excellent stuff. Right. Well, I shall go back to my apps, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Take care.
Cheers. Bye-bye.